You ever get that feeling like, what you're seeing isn't quite real? That there's something else just under the surface messing with things.
Oh, yeah. Those little moments where your brain just glitches for a second. It happens.
Exactly. But imagine that feeling cranked up to 11. So intense that suddenly totally normal people are committing these horrific acts of violence. Why? Because they're seeing things that just aren't there.
That's a deeply unsettling thought, isn't it? The idea that perception itself could be weaponized, basically.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're doing a deep dive on a really standout episode from the X-Files Season 3. It's called Wetwired.
Ooh, Wetwired. Good one.
And this isn't, part of the big alien mythology arc. It's one of those standalone stories.
Right, a Monster of the Week episode. For anyone maybe less familiar, those were the self-contained plots, not directly tied to the main conspiracy stuff. They often zoned in on specific fears.
Yeah, totally. And this one, it drills down into perception, trust, and the creepy idea that maybe unseen forces are pulling our strings through. Well, through technology we use every day. Seems like something you'd find fascinating.
Absolutely. Wetwired definitely plays on those anxieties about media, about hidden control. It's classic X-Files in that sense.
It really is. So the core mystery is, like I said, normal folks turning violent after seeing things, illusions, but it seems linked to what they're watching on TV.
Well, what they think they're watching.
Right, like this one guy kills several people because he's convinced they're all the same person, this plainclothed man he keeps seeing. It's bizarre, and of course that's when Mulder and Scully get called in.
And the fact that it's ordinary people, not just one isolated case, that's what makes it properly scary. It hints that maybe something bigger is going on, something that could affect anyone.
Hits that nerve, doesn't it? That the TV is something in almost every home could be used against us. So, to unpack all this, we've got some great material. Episodes, summaries, synopses, even some cool behind-the-scenes stuff about how Wetwired was made.
Nice.
Our plan, basically, is to break down that central mystery, get a handle on the unsettling ideas it throws up, and, share some of those interesting production tidbits. Think of it as your quick guide to getting this episode.
Sounds good. So how does the investigation kick off? What do Mulder and Scully find first?
Well, Mulder actually gets a tip. Anonymous, kind of, from this plainclothed man character, funnily enough.
The same one the killer thought he saw.
The very same. He points Mulder to a news article about the murders. So they head to the hospital where the first killer is, a guy named Patterson, who's being treated by a Dr. Stroman.
Okay.
And get this, while they're there, Patterson sees a news report on TV and just flips out. Has a violent episode.
Wow. So a direct, visible link between watching TV and the violence. Right there.
Yeah, it really hammers home that connection, raises huge questions immediately about, media's power to warp reality.
For sure. What's next?
They go to Patterson's house, and interestingly, they find his two young sons just watching TV. Totally fine, unaffected.
Huh.
But Scully finds something else. Tons of videotapes. Hours and hours of recordings from one specific cable news channel.
Wow.
So Scully, being Scully, her first thought is scientific. Maybe just the sheer volume of violence on the news somehow, overloaded his system, triggered something.
A plausible theory grounded in psychology.
Right. But Mulder, he smells a rat. He thinks it's got to be something more deliberate, more hidden.
And there's that classic dynamic. Scully looking for the logical scientific explanation within the known world. Mulder sensing a conspiracy, something outside the norm.
Exactly. Though Mulder doesn't completely dismiss the media influence idea, his gut's just screaming manipulation, and then things get personal and weird.
How so?
Scully's reviewing the tapes late one night. She glances out the window and she sees Mulder in his car, talking to the cigarette smoking man.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's not good.
Not good at all. Because the next day she asks Mulder about it, and he flat out denies it, says it never happened.
Oof. And for Scully, who relies on observable facts and crucially trusts Mulder implicitly, that must be devastating.
Totally throws her. It's the start of this horrible spiral for her. Suddenly her partner, her anchor, might be lying to her, might be involved in something shady.
Yeah, that's the moment the episode really turns inward, showing how perception breakdown can isolate you, even someone as rational as Scully. So what happens next in the case itself?
Well, they get called to another murder. Disturbingly similar pattern. A woman kills her neighbor. Why? She thought she saw her husband in a hammock with another woman.
But it wasn't.
Nope. It was just the neighbor napping with his dog.
Jeez. Another perception warp leading to tragedy.
Exactly. And who does Mulder spot near this crime scene? The same cable repairman he noticed near Patterson's place earlier. Sort of nondescript, easily overlooked.
A potential link.
Mulder thinks so too. He checks the nearby cable junction box on the pole and finds it. This weird little electronic device hidden inside.
Okay, so now they have physical evidence. Something tangible. It's just from what's on TV to what's missing with the TV signal.
Precisely. Mulder takes the gadget straight to the lone gunman.
Of course.
They confirm it's definitely interfering with the signal, but initially they're not sure exactly how. It's sophisticated stuff.
Right.
Mulder tries to call Scully, update her, but she's already deep down the rabbit hole. She's hearing clicks on her phone, convinced she's being bugged. She's tearing her hotel room apart, looking for listening devices. It's bad.
Oh, man. She's fully paranoid.
Completely. And when Mulder finally gets to her hotel room, she pulls a gun on him.
What?
Yep. Shoots at him. She's utterly convinced he's part of whatever conspiracy is targeting her. Then she runs.
That is terrifying. The trust is completely shattered. Mulder becomes the enemy in her eyes. Shows how effective this manipulation is.
It's brutal. And now even Skinner sees her as dangerous. There's an APB out for her. But Mulder refuses to believe she just snapped or turned bad. He knows something external is happening to her.
He trusts his partner, even when the evidence looks bad.
He does. He starts searching for her while the gunmen finally crack the device.
Because what? What is it doing?
It's not just blocking the signal, it's inserting images. Subliminal messages, basically. Designed, they figure, to trigger paranoia and aggression by playing on existing fears.
Mind control through television. Chilling.
And here's a key detail. The gunman realized Mulder wasn't affected because he's red-green colorblind.
So the subliminals relied on specific color frequencies or something.
Seems like it.
Right.
A clever detail, right? Anyway, the police find a body. I think it might be Scully. Mulder rushes there, confirms it's not her.
Thank God.
Then he finds out Scully's mom hasn't been answering her phone. He races to her house and finds Scully there, still paranoid, gun pointed right at him.
Oh no, not again.
She accuses him of everything, the conspiracy, her abduction, even her sister's murder somehow being his fault. It's intense.
This episode really puts her through hell.
It really does. It's actually her mother who manages to talk her down, break through the paranoia just enough. Scully ends up hospitalized for evaluation.
Understandable. A complete breakdown of reality.
Yeah. So with Scully recovering, Mulder puts it all together. The device doesn't create fear. It finds your existing anxieties, jealousy, suspicion, trauma, and amplifies them into these violent delusions.
Tailored psychological warfare, almost.
Exactly. He suspects Dr. Stroman, the psychiatrist treating the first killer, might be involved. Maybe he was treating Patterson for the anxieties the device later exploited.
Plausible connection.
Mulder tracks Stroman, follows him to this remote house, sees him meeting with that cable repairman, the trigger man, maybe.
Okay, this is it. Confrontation time.
Mulder goes in, but it's too late. Stroman and the repairman are both dead, executed.
By who?
By ex-Mulder's shadowy informant.
X. Wow. Okay, so this standalone case suddenly has threads leading back into the deeper conspiracy. Why would X clean this up?
That's the question, isn't it? It suggests maybe this tech wasn't just some rogue experiment. Maybe it served a larger purpose, or its exposure was a threat to bigger players.
Right. Adds a whole other layer.
Mulder confronts X, furious, accusing him of setting them up, endangering Scully. X gives his usual cryptic non-answers, claims he was being watched too, and insists Mulder still needs him.
Classic X. Never a straight answer.
Never. So the episode ends with Mulder and a recovering Scully trying to file a report, but of course the evidence is gone, the witnesses are dead, it's all circumstantial. Case closed, officially, but not really.
Loose ends everywhere.
And the final kicker. We see X meeting with the cigarette-smoking man. X confirms the loose ends. Stroman, the repairman, and the plainclothed man are all taken care of. Permanently. But he plays dumb about who tipped off the plainclothed man in the first puzzle.
Chilling. So the immediate threat is gone, but the architects remain hidden, and we never find out the ultimate why.
Exactly, that classic X-Files feeling. You solve a piece, but the bigger, darker picture just gets bigger and darker and leaves you hanging, unsettled.
For sure.
Okay, but now let's shift gears a bit. Let's dive into some of the behind-the-scenes stuff for Wetwired. This part's always fun, gives you that kind of nostalgic peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, I love hearing about how these things actually got made. What do we got?
Well, first off, the writer, it was Matt Beck, who was, wait for it, the show's visual effects supervisor.
No way. Really?
Yep.
The VFX guy wrote it.
Yep. Isn't that cool? The person responsible for so much of what we saw on the show wrote this episode all about messing with what people see. Apparently, he was inspired by all those debates going on at the time about TV violence and its effects.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's literally about the potential danger in visual media channeled through the eyes of the guy creating the visuals. Fascinating.
Right. And here's another cool bit of production trivia. Remember the plainclothes man? The sort of mysterious tipster?
Yeah, the guy the first killer kept seeing
Yeah.
and who tipped off Mulder.
Well, that character was basically created because Stephen Williams, the actor who played X, he had a scheduling conflict. He was also starring in another show, LA Heat, at the same time. So they couldn't get him for as much screen time as they maybe wanted for X in this episode.
So the plainclothes man was kind of a stand-in, an emissary for X.
Exactly. A clever workaround to keep X's influence in the story even when the actor wasn't fully available shows how they had to adapt on the fly sometimes.
That's smart production work. Resourceful.
And like we said before, this was definitely a Monster of the Week episode, self-contained, not tied directly into the aliens and the Syndicate mythology.
Which let them really focus on these specific themes, right? Media influence, paranoia, government overreach maybe, but on a smaller, more psychological scale.
Totally. It gave them room to explore that without needing to service the bigger season arc. Shows the range the series had.
Agreed. It still taps into those core X-Files anxieties, just through a different lens.
Now, check this out, audience numbers. When Wetwired first aired, May 10th, 1996, it pulled in almost 14.5 million viewers. 14.48 million, with a Nielsen rating of 9.7.
Wow. That's huge. Really shows how big the show was back then, doesn't it?
Yeah, seriously. Millions of people tuning in every week for this stuff. Gives you a real sense of its cultural footprint at the time.
Definitely puts it in perspective.
And here's a nice little personal note. Stephen Williams, X.
Yeah.
Even though his part was maybe smaller in this one because of the scheduling thing, he apparently considered his very last scene, that brief meeting with the cigarette-smoking man at the end.
The cleanup confirmation.
He considered that one of his absolute favorite scenes he ever did on the show.
That's interesting. Just that short, loaded exchange. Says a lot about the power of those moments between those two characters.
Doesn't it? And one last bit of behind-the-scenes drama. Apparently, they had major problems with the sound mixing right at the very end.
Oh, like technical issues.
Yeah, big ones. So much so that the final sound mix wasn't finished until the actual day the episode was supposed to air.
Whoa. Talk about down to the wire. Must have been incredibly stressful for the post-production team.
You bet. Just a reminder that making TV, even a hit show, can be pretty chaotic sometimes.
It gives you a new appreciation for the finished product, knowing the hurdles they sometimes faced.
Totally. So, okay, let's kind of bring this all together. We went through this really disturbing case. Ordinary people, TV illusions, sudden violence.
Right. Mulder and Scully investigating, Scully herself becoming a victim of the manipulation, losing trust in Mulder. It was intense.
And we saw them uncover the device, the subliminal tech, the idea it amplified existing fears, not created new ones, and then the cover-up by X.
Yeah, the key takeaways really seem to be about how powerful media can be, how easily perception can be warped, and that unsettling potential for hidden forces to exploit our own minds against us. Themes that feel, well, still pretty relevant.
Scary relevant sometimes. And then we got those cool peeks behind the curtain, the VFX supervisor writing it, the plainclothes man fix, the huge audience, Stephen Williams' favorite scene, the sound mixing chaos.
Yeah, lots of fascinating context around the episode itself. Adds another layer to appreciating it.
So it leaves you thinking, right? As you go about your day, watching screens, scrolling feeds, what unseen things might be subtly nudging your perceptions, your beliefs? Could there be a sort of digital wet wiring happening in ways we don't even realize?
It's definitely a provocative thought to end on. Makes you want to look a little closer at the world around you.
Nothing to chew on, anyway. A little food for thought from the dark corners of the X-Files.